Hello everybody. Hello all the guys with me here. Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate. Let me start to open some files and start to talk about what we're going to do today. Okay. Sorry for some inconvenience here. We have been preparing something, but I don't know, Facebook apparently changed some menus on the interface, so we're trying to do the best for you. A few days ago we started from this inspiration about a character from my country who a company created a few years ago. It's an old character, actually. It's from the 80s, I think so, or 90s, but it's a cool character that I wanted to sculpt to show the skills and tools that I used to work on ZBrush. Okay, and then we decided to make a pose, and I made a quick sketch following the idea of the character, following the pose that I wanted, following what I want to do with this character, creating a scene to show some kind of aspects about the character, like he's strong, he's from outer space, he's trying to fight with a creature, some kind of mutant insect from outer space, you know. So it's good. Into my process, I like to do a quick sketch and start to analyze things there on that sketch, as how many basic shapes I can get from the 2D drawing to transport or become these 2D shapes into 3D. As we have it here. When I'm happy with the pose, I started to add more things to emulate musculature, be more close to a human anatomy shape. So for that reason, I have here this second step. Is the same application, just following some lines, or for me it's more like doing the things by memory. I think so. On these steps, I prefer to use my memory and my experience following some kind of the anatomy, because I mean, I'm working day by day on anatomy, on character, on sculpting. I have some memory files where I can do this really quickly before following some reference, or I mean, it's okay. I think it is interesting to study the anatomy every time that you have a character from the beginner, or even if you have a lot of experience, you have to study a body in relation with anatomy sculpt, you know, because it's important to know how the muscles are working, or the motion of the body is working for the pose. All a small motion and movement on your body change the direction or the behavior of the muscles below your skin, and this will give to us a complete control to make good expressions for the characters. Yeah, so it's important, analyze and study how the muscles work on the body, where are the joints, where are the tendons connected, how these muscles has a tension. If I am doing some kind of pushing movement, for example here I'm trying to push this kind of big T, so this probably will change if I push the hand and towards the rise a little bit. This will change the motion even in, or the shape even in the shoulder. For example, I like to use this more like pushing or grabbing. So if I move this wrist, these things will change on my sculpt at the end. Yeah, so for that reason, I always have, when I have a character, I like to see multiple reference or even studies. It's okay if I can recommend it. For example, Anatomy for Sculptors is a really nice book. I can show you here because they have copyrights and everything, but you can go to the web page or looking for Anatomy for Sculptors and see how these things work for sculpt, or even looking for medicine books where they show you how the muscles are working on the bones, or the tendons are working, has reaction in each movement on the mechanical body movement. But following the artistic things, I think that okay, you can maybe avoid a little bit these things. It's important, but you want to feel free, just also follow reference and practice observation, as we are going to do now. Okay, well, in my process, after have this base model more closest to the concept, I think so, sometimes I don't want to continue drawing, because I know that I can create some sketch or really good ideas directly on 3D. So I prefer create this base model and start to do things here in 3D, because at the end this will be a 3D product, and I need to see or experiment what happened with my 3D object rotating or looking 360 degrees, looking the silhouettes, if everything is working 360 degrees. If I'm starting to design or detail this creature, for example, I don't have the back part of the piece, so it's okay for me to do an sketch here directly and create the things in the back, playing with a school. Another thing that is important to analyze before I start to school is something that many people ask to me, or something that I'm always concerned about the final production piece. I'm working for miniatures, for example, and sometimes I'm working for big big pieces, collections pieces. I mean, the miniature has no more than 5 inches in a real scale work, and a collectible piece sometimes has 27, even 31 inches tall from the base to the top of the piece. If I want to create this piece in a scale around or a measurement or relation in about 27 inches, it's important to check this first to compare, and I want to show the difference. I have the file here, for example. This is now the character turned really big. This is a 7 inches a cube ref. Now other people asking to me, well, what happened if you are working to do this? Just press F. If you lose your file on your canvas, please click or press F on the keyboard, selecting one of the tools that you have, subtools, and press F, and you will set your character on the center again. Okay, well, returning to these things, the sketch that we started the last time was from zero. Here I just put a cylinder from the ZBrush default space, drop it there. I don't think about scales or measurement or scales or size or numbers that time, but now it's important considering something. We have a camera here, right? Sometimes the size of the model affect this camera angle. The final piece is the important result, right? It's okay if you are working on the final scale. Sometimes it's okay, but for example here, ZBrush, if I'm working in a huge scale, I can use this dynamic brush because the model is huge. So I just have to unselect dynamic brush and work without a dynamic brush. It's better if you're working on details sometimes that you need to be equal one to each other to have dynamic brush, because if you are using a number, you can sculpt with that number and sculpt in your part with that number. But if I'm zooming here on the character, the number changes. I mean the thickness of the brush changes because it's not dynamic. When it's dynamic all the time, you will sculpt in the same brush size, even if you are too far from the model or too close from the model. Yeah, but it's important to have that in mind. It depends what you want to do. Sometimes I like I mean, if you're working for a company and the company gives to you a reference file where you need to work on that size, it's okay. Know what happens if you are working on huge files. One thing is this: the brush has a limitation when you are using dynamic brush, because I can increase my size more than I have it now, and it's the maximum draw size, right? So I have to unactivate the dynamic brush, and yes, I can sculpt without dynamic, but has pros and cons and some other things against you, when you are using no dynamic brush. The other thing is the use of the Dynamesh tool, split tool. You want to split this to Dynamesh something. Be careful when you have a huge file, because if you apply Dynamesh on these huge files, you can move to highest resolution because your computer will crash. Because imagine that the computer is trying to analyze that this geometry is huge and need to recompute all that geometry here into a huge model. If you want to start to work on dynamics in a real size model here in ZBrush, you need to start in a really low resolution and see what happens. For example, here, just in the lower resolution, we have an amount of detail, or amount of mesh, of resolution mesh. For me, it's a little hard try to work on this resolution to create designs or create a sketch from a school really quickly. So for that reason, I want to keep always this model as a scale, save this model as a final scale, and go here and geometry size and keep this number, because when you finish your model in working in a comfortable mode here in ZBrush, you can resize your final model with your scale reference. So, it's better. I recommended this because, as you can see, we have a little bit problems working on huge files. Okay, if I'm working on a file set by ZBrush unit, as I have this now, working at 35, even the camera is not affecting too much the model, it's just a little bit, but is a model with some advantage with for example, my dynamic brush. It's working really well here. Yeah, we have a huge brush to change things, and you can work with a Dynamesh in a nice resolution. Look at the difference here. I'm going to apply the same 8 resolution, lower res here, and I have just a small pieces of mesh. So you can increase to 500, or for example, this is a good mesh to start to play with design. Okay, how I made this is the original file, okay, with multiple groups. So the idea is just collapse these groups into one group, polygroup, group visible, go to polygroup menu, group visible. Yeah, we have 3 groups, no more than 3 groups is okay. Now set tools, merge down. Now we have 3 groups here. This is the last file without any scales idea. If I apply Dynamesh here, also we have I have to be careful because the resolution is different. The model is a little bit bigger, so it's better go here in the deformation and create unify. This return the model to the 0.0 and the axis vertex, and also rescale all to the 0 to the default resolution from ZBrush. So I prefer start from here and keep this huge file as a reference at the end. So in my process where I'm doing cuts to export these characters to print, I always have my reference files, reference last size file on my files to work. Okay, well, I think that you can start from here to play with some school things directly on the surface. So well, I'm going to split my groups and I'm going to keep the body, the cape, this mutant, alien, worm. Well, just apply Dynamesh. I always use this amazing tool. I think it's a wonderful tool because every time that you sculpt and recompute or redo Dynamesh, the character is constantly changing. You can break everything and add something and break there, work really fast with your character. I'm going to select solo mode to keep my body and work with reference. I use this nice software PureRef where you can create a word table with multiple reference, and I like to analyze. Well, it is difficult. Maybe you have a sculptural body or a workout body to have reference from your own body. It's really cool, you know. But I don't have a nice sculptural body, so I have to follow reference from the internet. So my inspiration is looking for the closest pose to my final pose to the character. Is really difficult, but the idea is trying to follow some muscles behavior below the skin, in the pose, in the tension of the arm, of the torsion of the wrist, of how the chest is working. If I have my arm rise or my arm down, is half. I think sometimes just you have to follow your experience. The other time is just analyze what happened and be careful following anatomy reference, following this really cool image through the internet where showed you the muscles is connected one to each other, where the muscles is working over the bones and below the skin. But having this reference is a good idea to start. As I told you, for me it's half. Yeah, I'm doing this using my memory because I has been sculpting backs, chests, muscles, motions, bodies, monsters. Okay. Now don't worry about the resolution right now. Here is just a step where you have to create some marks on your body to get the anatomy. For that reason, I like to work on a small, a lower resolution, because the brush or the sensation, I think on your digital table or your pen display is soft. When you have a lower resolution, if you have a high resolution, it's really difficult try to move or smooth areas or create lines really quickly. It's different. If you have a high resolution, you can smooth really well. All the things that you are created stay there on the mesh. So for me, it's more comfortable to work on a lowest resolution. Okay, I'm going to try to mark some areas that I have to consider in the future. I have this dorsal muscle. Dorsal are connected with our muscles on the back. If we can see here how the dorsals works, are connected with multiple muscles below the arm. If we have the back here, the back has muscles groups inside muscle groups that are connected one to each other. It always is important mark these areas. The body landmarks, I think is the name of this. Worst reference for you. This is a process about observation, about experience, I think so. Because for me, working really quickly, I can see all the reference at the same time. I just try to follow one. As you can see, I like blade. I like to jump one part to another part and looking the character in an organical way, you know. I don't like to stay just in one part and try to get that part equal to the reference, because it's no work for me on that way. I mean, the body has a natural movement, and it's okay if the body is changing every time that you apply some kind of sculpt or brushes or brush pass in each section. Try to enjoy the process. Try to looking for a good time to enjoy the process without think in the final result for now, because the final result is too far now from the things that you have in mind. This is just playing with the mesh and the surface to get the appropriate design of our character. This is experimentation, I think so. More than another things is experiment, take risk, observation, and study how the things are working, what happened with the muscles, what if I add here this in here, and rotate your model many times as possible. This is 3D. Each thing that you move on one view affect in multiple ways the other, so be careful about that. Always try to see your model in many angles as possible. If I am moving really fast here with my brushes, is because, as I told you in the last sessions, I have I don't have an special setup or interface on ZBrush. It's the default ZBrush interface. The difference is that I like to use shortcuts for my brushes. So I don't have. I like to jump on this process in a fast way. So I prefer just keep the brushes on the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 10 brushes to work. When I'm working on details, well, it's another process, and I use other brushes to create textures or another special things. But most of the time I'm using just the same 10 brushes. Just 10 brushes to get on the school. I think it's okay. Okay, set another things here. I'm moving really fast. I don't like to. I mean, I like to spend more time doing this, but for the live proposal, I can spend more than 1 hour sculpting. So I'm gonna try to go fast. Okay. Also, the idea is try to see this character in other sessions. This is our second sessions playing with this character, so a couple more sessions would be good for us to see a final body resolved. Details, for example, would be really cool to see some details, right? I don't know if we can get a final detailed process as to skin, but I'm going to try to do my best, because I mean I have another things to work on. If I want to spend a whole time with this character, I need to focus on it and work with more patience, I think so, to get a good result. I know that many people like to do fast sculpts of doing challenge for themselves, doing I can do this in just 1 hour, or I can do this on 8 hours. It's okay. Not my case. I like to spend enough time. Sometimes it's good, yeah. Sometimes not, because when you are working for companies, you need to use a pipeline. You have deadlines. When you use it to spend enough time with on a model, then working for a company will be really hard. Try to get the deadlines, or feel comfortable working with deadlines. So sometimes it's important, yeah, do a challenge or get deadlines as well on even in your personal projects. Okay, I know it's really cool just spend time doing a personal project for a long time, but sometimes you need to finish that, because in the real world you have to finish the things on time. If not, okay, this is a production. The production will cost more if you keep your model more time, or affect a line of production like the designs, the people who paint, the final model, the people who print. The printer will be waiting for you. It's a long chain of people working to a final result. So it's better, yeah, do things as a professional, thinking in deadlines. Sometimes I like to work on symmetry. Most of the time not. I prefer work without symmetry, because as I told you on the last video, the body doesn't have a complete symmetry. You know, the nature is no full symmetry. The nature has imperfections. It's better if our model has imperfection, looks more natural. For that reason, I like to do this on this way, just sculpting, following the pose, the initial stage pose that you created from the reference or your concept, and see how the things flow. You know, it's more organic for me, and the result at the end will be organic. Actually, sometimes it's necessary work on symmetry. Working on creatures is nice because really cool things will appear working on symmetry. Well, don't worry about our head at this moment. For me, the head and the hands, the feet are a totally whole world. Yeah, if you want to spend, you can. I can spend many time doing a head until get the final if it's something like a likeness or a good appearance for a character. But you need to spend time getting the right proportion for the expression, the right proportion for the face. For example, here I noticed that my head is too down, looking too down, so I prefer select as using a max and raise the head a little bit. I'm pushing back a little bit more. Because I'm losing the neck here. This is the coolest thing here, that you can react or you can change the things in initial steps. Always before start to do details or even a cleaning process of the character, play a lot of time getting this in lowest resolution, because the thing that you can see in lowest res will, if the things are turning really good in a lower res, you will see the things really good in a high res. if the things are not looking good in a lower res, for sure you will have a really bad res design of your character, so you have to start again from zero and you will lose time. So before you start to clean your character or applying details, get sure that you have a really nice low res approximation to the idea that you have in mind. I have to create another connection there for the muscles. I'm not touching I'm not looking for reference of the arm yet. I'm just working on torso, but I mean, for me it's okay, jump on multiple areas at the same time. Okay. Let's see another back ref. Yeah, I'm just looking for lines. I'm not looking for final muscle shapes. This is a sketching process, right? As I mentioned to you, try to enjoy this and less the idea of the final model on your mind and the less. For me, is sometimes I don't like the pose. It's okay. You have one thing in mind. You have an idea on your mind, and after work a couple hours on your model, even doing the sketch, looking this thing and the thing that you have in mind, I mean, the match for you, it's okay. You can change it. It's a huge advantage here working on digital, because you can play looking for new shapes, but it's okay on this step. You know, if you are comfortable with your model on this stage, it's okay. It's really hard if you have a model with an amount of detail and you decided, oh no, I don't like this, or something like that. You will lose a lot of time. So this step is okay, even for have new ideas. Decided, okay, I don't like this pose at all. Maybe I can change it. So you can just max some areas and move the things and play with movement. Let's see what happened here. with these dorsal muscles. Okay, I don't have my arms in a rise up position, but I can see that it has some muscles connected there from the back. Yeah, if you want to learn your names, it's really cool. I'm not too good to learn names. But we are working on the pectoralis and infraspinatus muscles. And this muscle has subgroups muscles here. I need to look for a reference to see if this muscle below the arm and near to the dorsal major work really well, or are more hidden if I have my arms down. For example, here they show to us multiple groups on the deltoids, the shoulder. I have a back groups here in the back. I'm going to try to clean this a little bit more. Get the dorsal closer to the arm. Maybe as we have here on this. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's on the opposite side. Sometimes you have to increase the size of your arms a little bit, because I'm increasing the size of the torso, adding material, adding surface, on the skull. And at the end, don't worry about if one arm is bigger than the other. You can check that thing, this reference. Or on on the neck muscles. Yeah, if the triceps are touching the back, this has some kind of contraction and increase the sides on the lower part. You have to mark your elbow as a body reference, because it's important. Yeah, have body reference, the elbows, the shoulders. When you feel a little bit loose. Because the idea is have a nice anatomy shape. And even looking on this way, the model is started to increase the volume, because I am adding material. I'm going to save this as anatomy number 1. Okay, please keep thinking in. Get the nice shapes here. I know that this is a little bit complicated, that have asymmetry. But you will learn a lot doing this. You will learn a lot looking or getting the muscle from the pose, because you are forced to analyze what happened with each motion of the pose on the muscles. I think that for that reason I like it. Explore more dynamic poses than museum pose. For example, on the collectibles world, the museum pose is a pose that sometimes a good sculptor can give a huge or really nice intentions, or you can see a statue and sculpture in a museum pose that is really how to say, flat. No, flat is not an idea. Simple, think so. Well, not simple again. That looks or maybe looks simple on a museum pose, because it's not dynamic. sometimes asking about do the things in a deep pose first. I don't know. I prefer get because when you have a T-pose, if you want to move your body on a pose, this T-pose will deformate. For example, here, if you have a T-pose with the arm rise up, if I do a selection here and I move the arm down, yeah, these muscles have to change. Each movement on your body affect a chain of muscles. For me, is better analyze the things without a deep pose. Get a pose and start to work on the muscles. From there, you will learn a lot about anatomy. You will learn a lot about how the muscles are working for a school, and you will get a really nice dynamic and natural pose. It's different if you create a T-pose. For me, it's double work. It's work 2 times, because you have to create an anatomy on a T-pose, yeah, the school on symmetry, and then pose this thing and redo the muscles, how the muscles are affecting on that position. Yeah, if I have these legs, for example, and I want to move the legs up, everything changes, and I have to create new connection here, and I have to clean that pose. So for me, it's work double. I try to follow more a traditional way to sculpt, because if you are sculpting on clay, you can't work on symmetry. You have to work one side first, the other side work on the pose, and start to apply details directly on the pose. And as I told you, I mean, you will learn a lot working without symmetry. I recommend it. It's hard, but you will have a really nice skills, or a really nice improvement on your work at the end. Obviously, is a proposal, right? This will be an statue, and I have to tell something with a character that will be freezing in time. You know, it's different when you are working for a video game company or a game company, because you will need to create a T-pose character, work with maps, prepare a character for a rigging process. So it's totally different. For me, the final goal is get a statue, print this piece, and try to tell an history with a piece completely freeze. It's like to capture or freeze a moment in time and put that thing on 3D and then print it. Tell an history. Well, if you want to check what happened with your scales. You have here the transpose tool, and change the gizmo to the oldest transpose tool, and looking for a reference point, for example here between this and this. Okay, this will be my, it's an imaginary point. This should be my arm, and I have a unit here on the left up corner of the ZBrush interface, and say that my units are 0.1563. When I want to check the other side, looking for a similar, I noticed that has this unit, and I just increase a little bit more. Or you can create a bone reference, creating a sphere. I need to turn on cube. I'm going to try to create a bone with two joints. I'm going to turn off this. Okay, this will be my reference. Okay. And I'm going to my reference points on my arm. So I have my shoulder here, connected to the elbow. Okay. And this is my reference. I need to see the same thing on the other side. So I duplicate this, deformation mirror, and move to the other side. And if I'm going to keep this body landmark here on the shoulder as a reference, and my elbow as the other reference, I need to move the arm. Right? So I need to move the arm a little bit more to get my elbow onto that.